Hello everyone and welcome back to Suzerain. So in the last video we turned around and we started working on the reform bill. We actually sent the final draft of the reform bill to go ahead and start caucusing and try and get the votes rallied so we can actually get this bill passed. But now we have other things that we have to turn around and look at. We have the dinner with the business council. Again, nothing major here, just chit-chatting about some bull. And also, if I'm not mistaken, I think Walter Tusk, he wants to turn around and this is where he'll actually propose to do something. I can't remember what it was. I think this is the one where he'll either ask to lower taxes for businesses or something like that. But we'll see. I don't think I'm going to go ahead and pass that. I might try and see if I can do something else with him or whatever in order to try and make the business council happy. But overall, I don't think I'm going to be able to do a whole lot. So I've been mulling a few things in my head about what I want to do next. One of the things I kind of want to do that might be pretty bad is I'm thinking about funding every single department except for the military and what's the last one, except for the military and education. And I actually might cut education, and it's unfortunate that I might turn around and do that, but that's the only way that I think I can turn around and get the overall ending that I really want. But we'll see how certain things go. I'm still not sure yet. I'm still kind of mulling around in my head. So, and I'm not sure how much of a budget that I'm going to have left over. Also, I'm probably going to go ahead and work with United Contana if they offer to lend us some aid or something like that. I'm probably going to go ahead and do that in order to try and rev up the economy and in order to try to gain some favor. So later on, we can go ahead and work out a deal with Volksland and whatnot. I don't necessarily mind being involved with United Contana, since overall I do want to work with them. I just kind of want some independence starting off the bat, so it kind of gives me some wiggle room. But we'll see how certain things go. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but it really just kind of depends, because some of these things I'm trying to approach it as I kind of run into it. But yeah, we will see. So I'm going to go ahead and get through the business council meeting, and we'll see. We will see. So let me skip past all this stuff. If there's anything important, of course, I will turn around and I will include it in here. But yeah. All right, so now we've gotten past the business council meeting, and now we're going to go to the budget allocation of the government of Swordland. So this is going to be a tough one. This is probably going to be a tough one. And this is also one of these moments where I wish there were kind of multiple saves in the game, because you know, I don't know how certain things are going to play out, and I do want them to play out optimally, but you know, there are a lot of different branching paths in this game, so it's going to be a little rough. So I do, but yeah, like I said, I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to fund everything except for the military and education, and I might even cut education. I'm not sure. I might even fund the military. I'm not sure. I'm really gonna have to think about this. So let's go ahead and jump into it. The preparations for the government budget were finished. Most of the cabinet gathered in the White Room for the important decision. Nearly half a year had passed since my inauguration. The cabinet looked overworked. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. It's finally time to discuss the government budget. I'm quivering in my loafers with excitement, Mr. President. Sadly, Peter Vectern, Gus Manger, and David Whiskey won't be attending this meeting. They are working on the upcoming trade agreements with Wayland and Agnolia. May the Lord be with them. Sierra gave a barely disguised eye roll. Before we begin, is nobody going to mention the ban on the young swords? However much their political aims might differ from our administration, surely you must agree that freedom of expression must be protected at all costs. Miss Morgana is right. Nia flashed her an appreciative smile. I myself strongly disagree with the young sword's politics, but even I believe that she broke off as she noticed that Lucian, Simon, and Isoff were looking at her and Nia in stony silence. Ladies, let's leave the extraneous chit-chat for afternoon tea. Sierra shot a pleading look at Lilius, who merely pursed her lips disapprovingly. If you have problems with the ban, call a separate meeting with me. Simon started loudly shuffling some documents around. All eyes turned to the Minister of Economy. Let's see. Let's begin, Mr. Hall. Gladly. Today is a big day. We must prioritize our spending wisely in order to achieve the goals we set as a government, while maintaining enough political support, if I may add. Promises were made during the election. There are three options regarding the budget of the four main branches of government. It's either we increase, maintain, or decrease the funding. Increasing will result in an improvement of the branch, which will unlock new policy options. Maintaining will keep the funding, resulting in no visible change. Decreasing causes a loss of efficiency in that branch. Is it possible to maintain as much state control as possible? In the health and education departments, yes. However, I'm not sure if that would be efficient. Our universal healthcare system must be protected and not be tainted by private greed or interest. We need to be considerate when making such grand choices that have ripple effects. We have to be careful as to what we fund so we have resources remaining for another investment project. Yeah, this is gonna be tough because, it's now I kind of wish I would have actually chose health instead of education. But dang it, I chose education. So, and I didn't think about the fact that, like, I believe, like, story wise and mechanics wise in the game, education doesn't really have that much of an effect, but it can be a huge problem if you turn around and desolonize the country, but also don't get rid of the general staff. I think that's one of the biggest, one of the biggest things that could hurt you. So I might go ahead and just cut education instead and increase everything else. That would put my budget in a pretty bad spot, though. It'll put me at 2, and then if I increase everything else, that would put it at, yeah, that probably leave me at -1, which means I probably wouldn't even be able to do another infrastructure project. But if I work out the deal with Agnolia and Wayland, then that should give me, yeah, that should turn around and give me, it should give me some resources there. But I still have to look at Black Tuesday coming up, and Black Tuesday is going to be a gigantic pain in the ass. Yeah, because if Black Tuesday comes along, that's going to be -3. Oof. So I'm looking at possibly having a budget of like -4 or something like that before I even get a chance to work with United Contana. But we'll see how certain things go. Good God. Reduction of funding in certain branches can help fund investment projects. Yes, the bigger our budget surplus is, the more we can spend on reviving the economy. Before we begin our discussion, there's one more thing that I want to voice my opinion on. As we manage the government budget, we are obviously able to go into debt to invest in different branches. Although debt is a possibility under these circumstances, it would dent our financial system, worsening the economic crisis if we push it too far. A point for me as well to everyone before the discussion: given the current state of the country, the economic situation is a political priority right now, more so than ever. This budget will also be applicable to our entire term. It is very critical that we plan correctly. Let's begin then. Which branch should we discuss first? Let's see. Let's talk about healthcare. Our healthcare system is vast and provides free services to most of the citizens. However, the quality of our health service is far worse in low income and rural areas. Therefore, I think we should receive more funding to address this disparity. I agree. I've recently begun an investigation into healthcare in Narble, and the numbers are not good. If we don't increase spending on health services, we at least need to maintain it. Otherwise, we are putting lives at risk. We have just started a new analysis on what would happen if a pandemic struck Swordland. According to the results, if our healthcare facilities remain in their current state, the death toll would be unimaginable. I'm not even talking about the damage to the economy. This is a matter of life and death, Mr. President, and it should be treated as such. That is indeed worrying. We should try to fix whatever we can as the government. That is let's see. Law enforcement, which I'm going to need if I actually want to deal with the Supreme Court later on, because I need to investigate the old guard. So that's going to be a pain in my ass. Then again, I probably need to investigate well, I could also investigate the oligarchs, but I can kind of deal with them later on. We'll see. I would like to have an increase in the funding of law enforcement to increase the size of the police force and raise salaries. We have so many internal threats to tackle, and I'm already stretching my units far too thin with the limited resources allocated to me. Nia cleared her throat. Law enforcement is certainly a high priority. However, I feel tackling internal corruption is of far higher importance than increasing our police presence. Directing the funds to my department would solve the problem at its root. If corruption is still rampant, all the police in the world won't help us. We need a specialized anti-corruption police unit, which we could create if the funds were directed to me. I agree with Miss Morgana. We should not reward a structure that is responsible for an ever-increasing number of human rights violations. Additionally, corruption is the reason of our government inefficiencies. It needs to be tackled. The police is there to serve and protect the people of Swordland, Miss Walda, and that is exactly what they were doing. More funding will allow us to take care of our police forces. It's quite a simple choice, given the current status of the country. I agree with Nia. We need real solutions for real problems like corruption. And the military. What is there to hear about? I already voiced my opinions. Runeberg is coming whether we like it or not. If not this year, next year. If not next year, the year after that. Mr. President, you and I have a shared responsibility to protect this nation from its enemies, and I intend to do so until my last breath. I will say this with certainty. If Runeberg doesn't make a move against Swordland in 2 or 3 years, my name is not Isof Lankia. Isof was beginning to lose control of the volume of his voice. There can be no argument against increasing the budget for our army when there is an enemy on our doorsteps, waiting for us to make one wrong move. Anyone who thinks otherwise is a fool. Mr. Lankia. Right, pardon my theatrics, sir, but this is a serious matter. The future of our country is up to you, Mr. President. Well, here's an argument. The armed forces does nothing but eat away financial resources destined for our people while stoking fears for an upcoming war. The issue with Runeberg can be solved diplomatically. What kind of message are we sending to them and the whole world if we suddenly start ramping up our military budget? That we are ready to defend our nation, Miss Walda. Exactly. Oh, man. You know, the one thing I can't say about Isof Lankia is that he does seem like he really truly does care about the country. You know, granted, it is in a very bad way to a certain degree, but he does seem like he genuinely cares about the country and he wants to fight for it. I've never actually done an investigation of him or anything like that and see if there was any corruption linked to him. It wouldn't surprise me because everybody has some ties to something and they seem to have some type of explanation for it. The only one that didn't seem justified was Lilius so far. But yeah, I've never really had a negative opinion of Lankia to a certain degree. It was just that, like, sometimes I need you to kind of chill just a little bit. But I agree with Isof. Runeberg is a real threat and we need to be ready. So yeah, I think I will go ahead and fund the military too. And again, I plan on fighting Runeberg, so I need to fund the military. And what about education? Our education system is lacking, not only in funding, but also in modern curricular principles. Our outdated curriculum is wasting our youth. That is the reason why I advocate 2 things: an increase of the budget to improve access to education in rural areas, and a new education reform. To be honest, Swordland is lacking compared to Arcadia and United Contana when it comes to education levels. The backbone of any country is its people, and we need to protect our future. We need to ensure the new generation is as well educated as the counterparts in more modern countries. Nonsense. Swordland is still here because of this very system that you insult. How can you insult a system that teaches our sons and daughters the principle of national identity and pride? We won't be compared to other countries. Swordland is Swordland. I agree with Lilius. Swordland is Swordland. I must also remind you that we promised that we were going to focus on education during our campaign. Jesus. I made the promise. Good God. I'll think about it. Very good talking points from everyone. Well then, time to make a decision on the budget has come. Consider it with care, Mr. President. Simon placed a stack of papers on my table. All right. So here we are. Here it goes. I am going to increase funding in healthcare. Ah, man. I made the campaign promise. This is terrible. Oh, God. So this is the reason why I've always cheated. Because if I cheat, then I ain't got to worry about this stuff. But, let's see. God. And I feel like that would be such a negative blow if I turned around and I decreased it. So let me see what even would I have if I decrease this and then I increase law enforcement and I increase military. I'll be left at -1. Oh man. Then again, if I fund it, I'll be at -2. Oof. And I don't think I've ever had this little money in the beginning of the game. So was it purely because of the infrastructure project? Jesus. All right. I think, let's see. What will I do? This is tough. This is actually tough. I think in the beginning, it wasn't really it really wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad before the updates, but this is actually pretty tough this time around. Oh man. Especially since I know certain things are gonna happen. So yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and fund every single department. I'm gonna fund every single department. I'm gonna go ahead and take the budget loss and go ahead and enter into the negative. And then I just won't do a second infrastructure project. And honestly, I don't really even see what the benefit of those infrastructure projects have been. I can see the one about doing what was it? You can do, I think you can do investments in certain areas like the industrial area, I think near Lechaven or something like that. And then there's another one that's like the agricultural thing. And I was really looking forward to that, doing the agriculture thing in Bergia. But I mean, it's not that big a deal. So yeah, I won't do a second thing. And hopefully I can pull myself out of this by pulling off a lot of good trade deals, especially with Magnolia and Wayland, and then I can also pull off one with Vogsland. So, oh boy, that will put me at -3. Jesus. But I think if I do -3, I think that'll avoid Black Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah. So let's just go ahead and wing it. We're gonna go ahead and increase every last one of them. Oh boy, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be tough. Now, see, yeah, I guess you can't avoid it one way or the other, because even if you didn't do an infrastructure project and you didn't turn around and give out stimulus checks or anything, yeah, it would still be, well, you'd be at 0 right now. So, alrighty, let's see how this is gonna play out. God have mercy on my soul. I had finished allocating the government budget to the satisfaction of some cabinet members and the dismay of others. They and I knew this would define a significant part of our term. We have a deficit on our hands. We will need to resort to debt to finance investments. This is worrying. Agreed. Well then, let's start with law enforcement. Nia and Lilius were both smiling. Thank you for this decision, Mr. President. I knew you would see reason on this, considering our internal security threats are at an all-time high. I still disagree with Ms. Graff on how the money ought to be spent, but the increased funding is certainly a step in the right direction. Any statements on the matter, sir? I trust you to push the Ministry of Interior and Justice forward. We will be able to achieve positive results in the coming year, I can assure you. We will tackle corruption and the backlog of cases head on. To the Minister of Education. Sierra was eager to comment. The increase of funding is very welcome. We can finally go after some comprehensive improvements by building new schools and improving the education system. Truly, a well-funded and larger Ministry of Education would benefit everyone. Our future depends on our children. Education is the first step in the fight against ignorance. Let me see. Your expertise and passion should enable you to make the necessary changes for improvement. We will be able to achieve my grand goals with these new budgetary resources. The military is next. Sierra clearly wasn't finished, but didn't interject. Isoff chimed in. It is an honor to serve with a president that respects the military. Trust me, with these funds, our armed forces will be better than ever before. Lucien seemed as if he was about to say something, but looked down at his notepad when Isoff eyed him. With your talent and experience, you will overcome the issues our military face. The support you have provided, I will protect this country from any threat. Isoff leaned back in his chair. Let's hear from Mr. Bennywall. Thank you, sir. This health budget increase will help me to focus on improvements. Our people will now be safer than ever. I'm also planning to tackle issues like the lack of rural hospitals and the recent worrying numbers of maternal deaths. Welfare must remain a priority for our term. There's no other way around it. Healthcare is very important for us, and as we move forward, it will improve drastically. It feels invigorating to have the weight of the government behind my cause. That covers all the branches. Each minister will approach you with their respective policy requests and expectations over the next year. Thank you for your time and participation in this significant moment. The meeting is concluded. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time and efforts. The ministers bid their farewells, some excitedly, others dejectedly. The cabinet slowly dispersed out the white room. The budget for our term was concluded. Okay, so now we're at -3. Man, I don't think I've ever had -3 starting off. I don't think I have. I think I'm usually pretty good when it comes to the budget. But yeah, this is a first. But at the same time, I'm going to need pretty much all of those departments, and I'm going to need the support because I'm not sure how the re-election thing is going to work out. Hopefully I can pull the economy out of debt, but we will see. And let's see, the whole sword post, the 1954 Swordish government budget. I think I've actually seen this before. After a marathon 18 hours of negotiation, the Swordish government budget for the current term has been finalized. The government envisages spending around 52 billion Swordish Ren next year, almost 40 billion Swordish Ren more than this year. The 1954 budget sees a major increase in both welfare and security, and includes the first measures for more internal security being introduced. While the details of the allocation of the increased security funding is not yet clear, it is expected that the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Justice will both benefit from the increase. Additionally, the new budget also includes major increases in welfare. The Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health, two of the smaller ministries in Swordland, will see their budget grow more than expected, which will especially improve the quality and the accessibility of welfare services around the nation. Ms. Walda and Mr. Bennywall have expressed their gratitude for the increase in the welfare budget, saying that this increase will help everybody in Swordland. The Ministry of Defense, by far the largest ministry in Swordland, will also benefit from the increased budget, which will likely benefit the quality of military equipment or allow for further expansion of the Swordish Armed Forces. Minister of Defense Mr. Lankia has expressed his gratitude for the increase in the defense budget, saying that this increase will surely help us protect our glorious nation from the threats of today and the future. And of course, the economist actually is not happy about this. Rayne pumps billions into the government. Remember when all of us were worked up over hundreds of billions of Swordish Ren government budget deficits? Those might seem like the good old days today, after the Maroon Palace finished planning the government budget. The new budget introduced no cuts to any governmental institutions, but increased spending for welfare and security, with major additions to the budgets of the Ministry of the Interior, Law, Education, Health, and Defense. It seems like a historic yet irresponsible decision for sheer fiscal force being exerted at a time of economic duress. That type of economic burden comes as the national debt hits the ceiling, right at the middle of the economic recession. In short, the enormous spending will blow a fiscal hole through whole sword that could take years, if not decades, to patch. Well, I don't know if they're right in this particular case. I'm hoping that I can operate with a budget deficit, and later on I can kind of make that up, but we will see how it goes. Lucy and Gallard reported that so far that they have been able to get in total 87 signatures behind the proposal. Efforts are underway to increase the support and to reach out to necessary members. Okay, that's a pretty good start. We're halfway there already, so it's not bad. And I'm pretty sure once I go ahead and I deal with Gloria Torrey. As I said before, I don't have a problem with the election threshold thing. I would like it to be at 8%, but if that's all she wants, fuck it. She can turn around and have it. I don't have a problem with it. And I think that would pretty much be it. I don't think Clavin really wants anything. So, anywho, let's deal with the ridiculous debt that we're gonna have. But hopefully with the -3, because if I'm not mistaken, you need you can't have any more. If it's -3 or higher, you won't get Black Tuesday, but we'll see. All right, chapter 3, a new Swordland. Let's see what we have in the news today. Chaven League of Women's March. Okay, we've read this before. Bogslandian Navy forces Agnolia drill ship to retreat from Helgeland. Dealt with that before. Arcasia fires the M4 ICBM. We've dealt with this before as well. So, nothing major going on so far. Military equipment outdated. We've dealt with that before. Go ahead and get that out the way. What else? Education in rural regions require improvements. We've dealt with this before. Massive network of BFF priests discovered. We've dealt with this before. Benfey Regional Airport overcrowded. Dealt with that before, but I won't be doing the other infrastructure project. So, yep. Magnolia offshore drilling near Helge Island increased tension. So, yeah. Problems with Agnolia. But again, we're not going to get in bed with Agnolia. We're just going to let them do their own thing. So, yeah. Workers' Rights Act. We are... Oof. Oh, boy. Oh, well, there you go. So that's going to throw me even further into debt. Section 1 establishes a minimum wage of 2.5 Swedish Rand per hour. Section 2 sets a weekly maximum of 60 hours of labor. Section 3 establishes a double overtime pay per hour after 40 a week. Section 4 determines that workers are to be protected against occupational hazards and be provided humane work conditions. Section 5 establishes that migrant or undocumented workers have the same workers' rights as citizens. If any employer shall not abide by these rules, they will be heavily fined by the government. If not corrected, will face legal action. We will sign this. So we head into -4. So yeah, already going to be in a shitload of debt. So new law on workers' rights. The Workers' Rights Act has been signed into law by President Rayne after the approval of the Grand National Assembly by majority vote on Monday following a 6-hour debate. Monsoon Leak, who campaigned heavily for the bill, also sought to express his gratitude for the confirmation of the new laws, saying it contained much vital rules and regulations for the workers, the backbone of our nation. The new law establishes minimum wage of 2.5 Swedish Rand per hour and sets a weekly maximum of 60 hours of labor. It establishes new rules and regulations for overtime payments and determines that workers are to be protected against occupational hazards and be provided humane work conditions. The new laws also establish that migrants or undocumented workers have the same workers' rights as citizens. Good to know. Good to know. The Chaven Times, Rayne signs Workers' Rights Bill into law. The recently implemented Workers' Rights Bill caused the initial protests against the governments to mellow down after the Mobile Mine disaster. Chants of anger have turned into solidarity marches. One of the spokespersons for the Needham Mining Group has accused President Rayne of acting impulsively with the bill, saying that it puts too much weight on the businesses. After the public announcement, Needham has received hundreds of lawsuits from people around the country. And the radical, of course, is probably going to be happy about this. Workers' Rights Bill signed. In a surprising move, President Rayne has decided to do something right for his citizens by signing the Workers' Rights Act into law. This looks as a publicity move after the terrible Mobile Mine disaster. The new law establishes a minimum wage and sets a ceiling for the maximum amount of hours on top of new regulations for companies. Mr. Rayne's move to give more rights to the workers has been welcomed by many. On the other hand, this may simply be a diversion from the actual real issues of the government. Thanks. Just can't give me a clean break, can you? But you know, such is life. Alrighty, let's see what else we have here. Regional investment decision. Oh, so I still can do that. Huh. That's interesting. Oh, that's right. Okay, so like for certain things with this, you can still do some of the big proposals and stuff like that. And of course, it's gonna rack up more debt for the government. I don't know like what's the ceiling and what's the trigger for like a depression or anything like that. I guess it would be just too many people in poverty or something like that, or just the budget just being way too out of control. But yeah, you can still do these. However, if you have a good budget and a fairly good decent economy, later on there's certain things that you can do that will open up to you. So like for instance, there was one I can't remember, I think yeah, there was one where with the healthcare industry, I was able to build a new research facility, or I could give like free medicine and stuff. That was much later into the game, but I could do it because I had a budget surplus and things like that. I think there was another one for it was something else too, but I think each department had like one thing where if you have a plus in the budget, you can do those things or whatever. But of course, I can't do any of those. Now, I did say about regional investments that I wasn't gonna do them, but I kind of want to do it. Decisions, man. It's a little different when you have the pen in your hand. Let's see what we got here. Gus Manger and Simon Hall have prepared an extensive regional investment package to revitalize one of the top 3 economically fragile regions by boosting the municipality's budget, providing large sum of business grants, and giving cheap loans to companies with liquidity problems. The proposal can be implemented in one of the following regions: Bergia, Lorne, and Anglin. So Anglin has the agriculture, and it will also help with the later trade negotiations with our friends in the north up here. Magnolia. Bergia has the issues with the Blutish people. And I've always wanted to do something with Bergia because I've never done anything with Bergia. But it just seems like economic wise, it seems like it's just better to do stuff with Anglin. And of course, Lauren has the situation with the port, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Lauren has the issue with the Morna port. Grooney has the issue with the Benfey airport. We're not going to do that because that's just a waste of money. I say this as I'm literally pissing money. Let's see. So it'll be between Anglin and Bergia. Decisions. Anglin or Bergia? Anglin or Bergia? Anglin or Bergia? You know, I said in the beginning I was going to do Bergia, so I will do Bergia. Yeah, I'll do Bergia. And we're at -5, but the economy did slightly go up. It went up by 1, so there's that. All right. Government investments in Bergia. The Swordlish government has injected billions of Swordlish rands into the development of the region of Bergia. The Bergia region was identified as one of the government's priority areas for luring energy investments. The city of Dare, Suzerain, and Sarna will likely benefit the most from the investments due to their proximity to natural resources, existing transmission links, and population centers. The planned projects in central and southern Bergia are expected to bring thousands of jobs to the region. The government program is designed to attract investors and expand the energy network as well as regional infrastructure, government officials said. A portion of the funding will also be used as agricultural subsidies. Oh boy. Really doing not great right now as far as the budget goes. Also, that should help me out with Wayland because if I'm not mistaken, when you make the deal with Wayland, it does help that region because of the the oil production I think that Wayland has. So that might actually help me out in the long run. So we'll see. I'm curious though, like how important is it to have a balanced budget? Like I know you can't do certain things, quote unquote, because you don't have the budget in order to turn around and do it. But I wonder like what's the maximum, you know, you can go before it's just like, all right, our economy is finna collapse. So, all right. Budget allocation of law enforcement. So for this one, I'm going to turn around and give the money to Nia so we can have the anti-corruption forces. We will be investigating the old guard. And if you do that, you can turn around and you can get information about what is it? You can get information for the to deal with Orso Hawker later on. And it also pressures one of the Supreme Court justices because they feel like that they're going to turn around and get arrested later on as well. Now, in this particular case, I don't know how it's going to work because we have the whole thing with the impeachment of justices. So we'll see if that's going to actually pass through. But I need those 7 votes, and we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I was in my offices reading the reports from the ministries about the current situation of the protests. My next scheduled meeting was about the law enforcement budget with Nia and Lilius. I heard some knocks on the door. Nia entered and took a seat in front of my desk. Lilius was absent. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Lilius will be late. Apparently there was an urgent matter at the Ministry of the Interior she had to attend to. Shouldn't take long. Yeah, she's making the Gestapo. What urgent matter? She said something about supply distribution for the police forces. Nothing major. Yeah, she's probably giving it to the young swords or something. I returned to my reports and Nia smoothed back an errant strand of her hair. There was an awkward silence. While we wait, why don't we have a little chat? This might come off as a little strange, but I'm proud of you. Despite everything, you're actually trying to reform the country. It's we, Nia, not me. I couldn't do any of this by myself, so no, I'm proud of you. Well, thank you. You certainly have a way with words, don't you? I wouldn't be president otherwise. She laughed. Fair enough. She leaned forward. How are you really holding up, Anton? Being the president, I mean, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it's also the best thing I've ever done in my life. I can imagine. So much responsibility and so much power at the same time. I want to assist you in the country as best as I can. To do that, I have an idea. We need to eliminate the worst problem we have. Corruption. And how do we do that? It's high time old guards in the Supreme Court stop holding the country in the palm of their hands. That's why I want to form a new unit, the Anti-Corruption Police. It's my idea. Sounds like an excellent idea. I'm glad you agree. I'm still figuring out the details myself right now, but think about the possibilities. Also, one more thing. About Lilius. I wouldn't trust her if I were... She barely finished the sentence before we heard a knock on the door. Nia almost jumped in her chair. Lilius Graff entered the room. Mr. President, Nia, I hope that I'm not interrupting your conversation. No, not at all. We were just discussing a few things. Nia smiled at Lilius. I'm sorry for being late. There was an important matter at the ministry. Just a small dispute over who should get the supplies. Nothing major. I always feel like when you're telling me that it's nothing major, it's probably something major. Well then, let's go straight in. We will provide a brief update on the situation of law enforcement. Ed? Nia? The Ministry of Justice and the Supreme Court is working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Interior to address the protests in the country. I must add that thanks to the hard work of our judiciary, the law enforcement forces assigned to my ministry are doing their jobs efficiently. I would call it the success of our forces on the ground, not due to the judicial branch of our government. Lilius shot Nia a brief, withering glance. As expected, the budget increase has boosted morale of the employees in the law enforcement agencies. In these dire times, my people and Nia's people are especially delighted. This came as a pleasant surprise to many in the Ministry of the Interior since it was not even one of our campaign promises. And for that, all I will say is, bravo, this was an excellent decision. Agreed. At the Ministry of Justice, we are very happy with the decision as well. The backlog of the court cases are dwindling and we have started to fulfill the needs of the current situation. Certainly a step in the right direction. Thank you. I am glad you approve. Nia nodded. Of course. Well then, let's move on to what we are actually here for. Due to the budget's increase, we can start doing much more as the main branches of our security in Swordland. However, a decision has to be made about the budget balance between the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Justice. Exactly. When deciding, you must look at the bigger picture. I believe you will make the right choice and pick the Ministry of Interior. Why should I pick the Ministry of Interior? The Ministry of Interior is a much more significant and important government agency that is in need of the funds, especially during these times where there are many protests in the country. Good luck prosecuting criminals or going through local government laws without enough judges, Lilius. What if I decided to balance the budget? Balancing the budget won't help us much. The current situation clearly demands that a decisive choice be made to benefit the nation. I agree. We need to focus on one ministry to achieve tangible results. Of course, that would make the most sense in the current situation would be to support the much neglected Ministry of Justice that would improve the legal system in Swordland. Tell me, Nia, who bring the criminals before the justices? Let me answer. The police force is connected to the Ministry of Justice. Ministry of Interior. And why should I pick the Ministry of Justice? Each day, the stacks of legal cases are piling up for judges. Cases for corruption and criminals are delayed due to the lack of funds. It seems to be that it is an organizational issue, but not a funding one. The Interior needs the money more for the police and local governments. I'm ready to make my decision. And of course, I'm not going to give it to Lilius, so... Alright. The funds will go to the Ministry of Justice to reduce the court backlog and improve the justice system, and hopefully to arrest your ass. Bad decision making. Right choice. It was time for the Ministry of Justice got the funds. Brief moment of deliberation passed. Lilius got up from her seat. I must return to the ministry to implement necessary changes. Very well. See you soon, Lilius. Need to have a few words with Mr. President. Lilius left the room. Here's my proposal. Corruption has always been a major issue with any government. It is the root of all evil. That's why I'm proposing the formation of the Anti-Corruption Police. As a sub-branch of the Ministry of Justice, the ACP would be given full authority by the presidency to investigate corrupt government officials and citizens. This would especially come in handy when dealing with corruption in higher positions. The Supreme Court and oligarchs that meddle in politics are just a few examples. If you accept, this will give our administration ability to deal with corruption quickly and decisively. Very well, form the Anti-Corruption Police. Excellent. I will start the prep work. You are making good decision. You are making good decision after good decision today, Mr. President. We'll be in touch. Nia got up and left the room. I remember one time, I think I formed the Anti-Corruption Police, and I investigated. I believe it was the old guard, and somebody got arrested. And then the person that's in charge of the Anti-Corruption Police, he made a mention that one of the people that was arrested had mentioned that they worked with the president, and they kind of just got rid of it. So I'm sure that in different situations, that could be a problem. So that could be a gigantic problem. But all right. So yeah, certain things are starting to change within the country. We have increased justice funding. We have the anti-corruption law. And we have the workers' rights reform. And let me see. We have an efficient justice system and positive judicial personnel. The economy, on the other hand, it's not great. We have investment in Bergia, so I mean, there's that. But yeah, we have a lot of issues right here, so we need to work on that. And we need to work on getting the order and control. We will do it, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Let's see, protesters, target sacred symbols. It's an issue. Richter calls president to action. Head of Swordland's main opposition party, People's Freedom and Justice Party, Friends Richter has said President Rayne needs to address issues like term limits and electoral threshold. Oh, okay, so he's just talking about that stuff. Okay. Recession is growing faster. With double-digit unemployment and plunging economic output, The recession has been a reality for a long time, but if there was any remaining doubt that Swordland is in a recession, it has now been removed by an announcement from the Business Council of Swordland. In the announcement, the council pointed to the unprecedented magnitude of the decline in employment and production, and its broad reach across the entire Swedish economy. The economy shrank by 2.4% in the last month and lost further value against the Arcasian lira. Now, as far as that situation goes, I have always had that situation. I don't think I've ever had a situation where that hasn't happened. And this is even when I cheated and I had like 900 budget and 900 wealth. That always is a thing. So I don't think you can actually get out of that situation, but also at the same time, I don't know if you turn around, like I think the game doesn't really pay attention to the budget and the wealth necessarily. It doesn't necessarily pay much attention to it. It actually pays attention to the decisions that you make. So like you'll even see if you have a high budget and a high wealth and you still turn around and do these projects, there'll be certain cases where like if you've cheated, of course, and you made all those decisions, the game still recognizes that either you didn't turn around and fund any initial projects or something like that. It would always do certain, if you turn around and still have a surplus budget and you make all the decisions to turn around and increase for each department and you still have a surplus, the game will still recognize it as you didn't do anything in the beginning, even if you did anything in the beginning. So this doesn't necessarily matter that much, but there are certain triggers in there. I'm not sure what the triggers are. I would have to actually go through the code, and there is a lot of code, so good luck with that. But let's see, I have an evening walk with Monica. I will go ahead and skip past this. There's nothing really interesting here. This is just more so about I think this is where Monica asked if she can speak at the women's rights thing. Now this is going to be kind of difficult because I do need the support of Alvin Clavin, but at the same time it doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, I feel like you should just go ahead and let Monica do it, because even if you don't do it, she's gonna turn around and get up and speak. And the way old buddy acts, as we've seen from the previous playthrough, he acts like a dick. So I mean, you might as well turn around and let your wife speak. And I agree with Monica. She should, speak and stuff like that. The guy that's turning around and speaking is a complete jerk, and he shouldn't be up there speaking. So since it doesn't matter one way or the other than the fact that it pisses off the conservative guy or whatever, who eventually ends up joining the NFP, fuck him. Oh, I got an achievement. Man of the people. Okay. Oh, so I wonder if that means that this changes. So I'll go ahead and speak through this. It was early evening, still light out with just a faint nip in the air. Frank was at his friend's and Dana was at an art class. Monica and I decided to go out for a walk before dinner. Our favorite place for a stroll was the nearby Capitol Park, the largest green place in all of Holsword. Before the children were born, we had spent many an evening engaged in deep conversation along the Riverside Promenade. Yeah, I'm sure that's all you were doing. Another favorite path wound through the woods behind the presidential housing complex to a private pond where the children could swim in summer. I was told that Sol himself had it built, the benefits of being president. Monica met me by the door, and we put on our coats and hats. I was going to suggest we walk towards Sol Square, but the guards told me it's been closed for yet another protest. I wonder who they are protesting this time. Let me see. Must be those damn communists again. Okay, so that didn't change. I thought it was gonna actually change, and maybe there wasn't gonna actually be protesters there this time around. Let me see. Well, the young sorts are taking it too far. Old grudges die hard, I see. For good reason. In any case, where shall we go? I'm not sure Capitol Park is a wise idea in this climate either. Nonsense. We have our guards. There's nothing to be afraid of. Let's go to the Capitol Park. If you say so. Let's go then, before the children get home. I informed the guards about our route, and we left the house. The guards followed us with a black cadilla. As we exited the gates, walking briskly, we reached Capitol Park in minutes. As we entered the park, Monica broke the silence. So how was your day? Paperwork, endless meetings, the usual nightmare. I don't know, I imagine some might find that stimulating. What about yours? Oh, it was fine. I caught up on some reading while the children were at school. As we reached the river, we saw Ioannis Krona, the former Minister of Justice, walking in the opposite direction. I remembered that Nia Morgna used to be his vice minister. He gave us a quick nod of acknowledgement. Ioannis had once fought hard and strong against Seoul's judiciary reforms, but after years of the government blocking his every move, he gave up on his ideals and became a part of the administration. What did our ideals really mean if they could be changed so easily? What about the people we idolize? Evelyn also came around for tea. She says hi. He was feeling rather low, though. Apparently, she and Peter had a bit of a disagreement. Yeah, this isn't going to change much. I will go ahead and skip past all this, but I do understand what she's saying about Ionis and everything like that, because that's basically what this whole conversation is about. You know, when it comes to ideals and stuff like that. I mean, you see that happen all the time in politics. You come in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and then next thing you know, you become Elizabeth Warren. So, and I like Elizabeth Warren, but the whole thing with Bernie kind of, yeah. Anywho. Alright, so now we're past the whole thing with Monica. I said that she can go ahead and speak at the event. Nothing major happened, just some talking about ideals and stuff like that. We now have the situation of nationwide peaceful protest, though, so that's good. But, yeah, I think that's actually better, because I think before it was worse, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, and it can be a lot worse depending on how things goes. But let's see. The only other things we have is the briefing on the H3 highway construction issue and the discussion of changes to the tax system. So I think with this, I'm going to go ahead and I think I might just raise taxes for both large businesses and small businesses. I don't know how that's gonna affect the economy, but it will help our budget out quite a bit. So yeah, because I don't think I can afford to do, I don't think it'll allow me to do a tax cut for small businesses or anything like that. So I'll jump into that. Okay, so now we are at the decision. I am going to go ahead and increase the taxes for large corporations and balance it with a decrease for small businesses. And since we've already done investment projects for certain parts of the country, that should help. So that should help. But yeah, this will give us a +1 for the government budget. This is going to basically make us at war with the oligarchs as well as the old guard too. But the old guard is a different issue. So maybe as long as I pass the Constitution, the old guard isn't a problem. But the oligarchs, on the other hand, that's a different sort of issue there. So I might get assassinated. Not sure. We'll see. And of course, they are so happy with this. You are making a mistake. This is going to have outrageous effects down the road. Enough. The president has made his choice. Well then, I've taken a note of our action and will put it in the implementation as soon as possible. We'll be giving people some relief by enacting tax rate for small and medium businesses, and there will be an increase for large corporation taxes, which will help us sustain our balance. Simon organized a stack of papers he had in front and placed them back into his briefcase. Well then, thank you everyone. That'll be all for today. Enjoy Lechaven, douches. I left the meeting room. I decided to stay a bit longer. I went by the windows again and kept watching the sea in silence for some more time. Alright, so now we are at -4. And Jesus Christ, when will we get the chance to actually go ahead and start working on trade? Because good lord, we need it. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. Tax cut for small and medium corporations. In order to end the recession, the administration has announced new changes to the tax system. As per the information provided by the Ministry of Economy, the new changes include a tax cut of 10%, bringing the total to 25% for small and medium-sized corporations. President Rayne has approved the tax reform, and changes are expected to come into effect immediately. As you can see, though, Swordland today being a problem isn't that big of a problem. They don't really do a whole lot. I mean, they're not as bad as certain situations go, but I think the only real major incident is if you turn around and let old buddy speak at the Benfy Festival, then it kind of becomes an issue. But yeah, it's not really a big problem. Oh, and then the issue with Peter later on, that's going to be a thing. But yeah, they're not that big of a problem actually. So meh. Alrighty, Torrey High School, blah blah blah. Red Youth calls for peace. I actually don't remember this article. But yeah, that's interesting. The Economist is as happy as always, and there's a geopolitical situation going on. So, all right. Next is the briefing on the H3 highway construction issue. Now, this is one that could have been a problem. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I remember once before I turned around and let Taurus do it, and they messed up, and then it ended up costing me an extra amount of money there. There was also one where I turned around and gave it to Taurus, but I also didn't do the workers' rights bill, and I still had to do it, and it was like, it might have been +2 or +3. It was ridiculous. So this actually should be much better this time around. The H3 highway construction created a second opportunity to visit the seaside town of Linkirk, known for its salmon. Thousands of people from the city were employed for construction work by the new highway project. But the main purpose of our visit was to solve construction issues that began to endanger the deadline. Oh, shit. The mayor welcomed us at his own mansion and took us on a brief tour of the city. Afterwards, we gathered at the city hall. Simon looked a little worried but Lilius looked dead serious. There also was a message of support from the mayor of Arvory, Eric Neal, who was grateful for the H3 investments. I have concerns about the construction due to progress being slower than expected. We scheduled the project to finish in late 1955, but the Swordland State Corporation might miss the target with the current trajectory. After engaging with the managers, they have said that they are moving forward slowly but steadily. The cliffside ground laying construction between Linkirk and Arvory is proving more dangerous than expected. The SSC is an organization of principles, so they aren't rushing and risking people's lives. The state can't be reckless. Huh. I've actually never had this happen before. Because usually if you pass the workers' rights bill, you don't have this issue. Huh. Yeah, maybe I should have picked Underhaul. Let me see. Would it really be that bad if it turns around and gets delayed a little bit? I trust that SSC will accomplish it in time. I think so too, but maybe we should increase their budget to help them buy new machinery to speed up the process. Worth considering because I'm not confident that they will hit their target. Ah, shit. Yeah, I mean, firing the managers really ain't gonna do a whole lot in this particular case. And we did know that they had outdated equipment, so Jesus, this is actually one of the really rare times where it probably would have been better to actually pick Underhaul construction. But this fits my government. I mean, this fits the plan for my government, so meh. SSC might need more resources to speed things up. That deadline must be met. I stand in agreement. The construction speed can recover if they expand the workforce and buy new machinery. The cash injection would increase the project cost even further. It might even be necessary for us to hit the opening date. If we make the opening ceremony on time, the public will cherish our efficiency. Simon took a deep breath and continued. One way or another, we have to solve this issue. This can lead to real complications down the line otherwise. We can either give the construction managers money, warn them, or replace them. With more resources, the managers are more likely to hit the deadline. Any other action just hurts Swordland. Yeah, I've never actually chose any of the other decisions, and I'm not sure how that would work. But again, we knew this going into it that they needed better equipment. This also will help us later on with what I'm assuming this will help us later on, because if we do actually do any other construction projects or anything like that and we use SSC, then they will already have the equipment and they'll be ready for it. So give more money to the construction manager so they can hire more workers and buy machinery to hit the deadline. This extra investment could be just enough to get things back on track. However, it is unfortunate we had to spend more because we need it elsewhere too. Trust me, Mr. President, this is the best investment we could have done. The SSC will only grow and learn from this. That should be it. Good that we have figured out a way to move the process forward. The meeting ended. The three of us went to the beach of Linkirk. It was rather rocky, but very pristine. The sunset looked absolutely astonishing over the Markian Sea. The day-long visit ended with a dinner involving the most important people in the city. Many of them were bureaucrats. Later, we made our way back to Wholesword. Alright, right back at -5. Jesus. And they call us a threat to world peace. They can suck it, quite frankly. Let's see. What other things do we have? Oh yeah, the inspection of the school. I'll skip past this. Again, this isn't really that important. I won't be so, anti-soulist or whatever, because I don't want the military coming after my ass. I really don't need them on my back, quite frankly. I have enough things on my back already. So yeah, let's not piss them off even more than I've already done. Now, when it comes to dealing with Walda, I don't think I'm going to change too much as far as education goes, because again, I don't want to make the conservatives too mad. But yeah, I think I will require that all schools teach evolution and stuff like that. But that's later on. That's neither here nor there. So let me skip past this. All right, so we've gone through the whole situation with Miss Walda. That is her name, right? Miss Walda. And yeah, we have told her to reform the education system and everything. And of course, to actually keep the education system in the hands of the state. There won't be any private interests in our education system. Even though now I think about it, it probably wouldn't have been that big a deal to do it. It might have helped the education system a little bit, but I don't think there's any major changes there. Let's see what new things we have affecting our country right now. The economy. Tax increase for large corporations. Small businesses are growing. Black Tuesday crash. Great. The currency crash and the resulting economic fallout has led to a massive collapse of the financial system in Swordland. Great. So I still got that anyway. And large corporations downsize due to tax increases. Major corporations are downsizing and leaving a large number of citizens unemployed, but small businesses are growing, providing jobs to Swordland. So it kind of balances itself out there. And I haven't felt the economic impact of Black Tuesday yet, and there hasn't been the trade war. So we got Black Tuesday, but we didn't get the trade war, because the trade war is catastrophic. The trade war is -3. That's horrible. Let me see. Now we have modernized education techniques. Yeah. I don't think there's going to be a desolinization thing, and maybe it's only bad if you actually use the decree to desolinize things. So maybe that's the issue. But yeah, I think everything is okay so far. Now we have a meeting with Gloria Torrey on planned reform. So this will be the icing on the cake, and I think this will be where I actually stop it. And in the next video, hopefully we'll get around to the trade discussions and start working out deals with different countries and stuff like that. But I'll go ahead and stop it after this. And again, if the only thing she wants is to turn around and allow the threshold to remain as it is, I'm fine with that. So meeting with Gloria Toria, let's go. I arrived at the Grand National Assembly, which was only a 5-minute drive away from the palace. Today, I had a private meeting with Gloria Torrey, one of the leading figures of the USP, to get her approval for the proposal. She was also key in reaching 150 signatures to propose the new constitution, as she had extensive control over our party's conservative and moderate wings. As I walked through the corridors of the Grand National Assembly, I was confronted by my memories of the historic building. Despite being a member of Assembly not long ago, it now felt like a distant past. I walked into the left wing of the Assembly, which currently acted as the quarters of the USP. Gloria's office was the first one inside. I knocked on the door and entered. Good morning, Miss Torrey. Good to see you here, Mr. Rayne. It was a small, neatly organized office that was there were small figurines, photos, and plants around the palace. Around the place. Jesus Christ, my reading is terrible today. It had a homey feel, unlike my own assembly office when I had worked there. On her gesture, I took a seat. The chair was very uncomfortable. I love what you did with the office. She smiled. Woman's touch, they call it. Like men cannot have a sense of tidiness or style. Which might actually be true. Anyway, let's keep this simple, Mr. Rayne. We both know why we are here. Want me to give you my support? I don't see why the backbone of the USP would support your rushed reforms. Don't you realize they go directly against the wishes of the founders of the party and the state? My reforms are very critical for the future of Swordland, Miss Torrey. Miss Tory, Miss Torland. Reform's not against anyone. It's all in the name of democracy. Miss Tory, I need your help. I need you to help me here. So you want me to help you destroy what our party has worked so hard to build, even though you owe everything to Colonel Soul. I think you never liked him, nor the party he built. There's nothing personal about this, Miss Tory. Whatever you intend to do, you will be facing quite the opposition. That's all I can say. I'm sure we can make a deal. I'm not so sure about that, especially when you're trying to decrease the election threshold. You must know this will mean bringing the communists into the assembly. You probably have a deal with either them or maybe the PFJP. Friend seems to be positive about giving you support too. I can reconsider the decrease in the threshold. Oh, you will reconsider. Do not support an election threshold of 8%. This sets a dangerous situation for us, as both the WPB and the CPS will gain more power. I'd rather leave the threshold as it is. Alright, cool. That's fine. If that's all you want. Well, will that ensure your support first? I don't know what to say before seeing a commitment from you, Mr. Rayne. Yes, I'll remove the change to the threshold. That's a step in the right direction. But your changes to the Member of Honor laws are a major obstacle. We obviously can't condone any threats against Colonel Tarquin Soul. You want to punish him for the aggressive policies he's pursued in the past. Is that the intention here? You can't win this fight, Mr. President. Soul built this republic in the midst of blood and chaos. He demands respect. I have no intentions of putting Colonel Soul on trial. No, actually, I really don't. I don't really want him to be on trial. Now, if somebody else wants to turn around and do it, fuck them. They can do it all they want to. But yeah, I don't have any intentions of putting Colonel Soul on trial. And why are you taking his immunity away? He isn't even a public figure since he's retired from politics. What prompted you to include this in your so-called democracy package? The Member of Honor laws are unnecessary and undemocratic. This is not about Soul. Soul is the only Member of Honor. This is automatically about him. Come on, let's try and find some common ground. Fine, let's talk about your other points. I must say that I like the changes regarding the appointment of ministers. That's one positive aspect. But moving on, it's unbelievable that you are taking away the immunity of justices. Shit, okay. A big mistake. Even though the assembly is elected by the people, it does not hold enough judicial insight and neutrality to impeach justices. The separation of powers shouldn't be damaged. This is something I cannot accept. I don't see anything undemocratic here, Mr. President. Can you? Oh, man. I mean, I'm not necessarily against it. It's just, I really need to deal with Orso Hawker. That bastard is, oh, man. Then again, I feel like if there is one thing that would probably nuke the Constitution, it's gonna be that. But at the same time, I don't know how that's gonna work with the PFJP, because I've already made promises about turning around and being able to well, no, because their main thing was being able to turn around and yeah, their main thing was to not have them vote on laws. That was their main things. So maybe they'll let me slide by with this. Maybe. I'm not sure. God, this is tough. This is actually pretty tough. Because I remember Nia brought that point up once before about they need to be impartial. And I mean, while I feel like taking the rights away from them to vote on laws and stuff like that, that would be a huge step in the right direction. At the same time, though, I kind of feel like they need to be subject to laws as well. And also politically wise, I don't know how that works out for the PFJP. I don't have a problem with removing it if the PFJP doesn't care. But at the same time, if the PFJP cares about it, then I would rather have their support, because I'm pretty sure their support, along with the progressive wing of this party, makes enough support for me to get this bill passed through. So, this will benefit the party. Maybe? I continue to disagree. So what are you thinking about? Are you ready to make changes to your proposal, or should we keep talking past each other? Oh boy. Well, fine. I'll go ahead and do this. I will go ahead and change this part as well, because Nia also made this point that the justices need to be impartial, and they need to not have the fear that they're going to be impeached, because that's going to cause a different problem. And Orso Hawker is old, and with everything else we're doing in this country, I feel like that will kind of change things later on. So let him have his cake for right now, because I'm pretty sure in the next election, you know, the USP will still be in power, but they won't be as in power as they are now. And that will turn around and help things for the better of the country overall. So I will change the immunity for justices. Fine, we will not touch the immunity of justices. Let's remove that point. Finally, the proposal is starting to make some sense. She took a long look at the proposal on her table. You know what? I feel extra generous today. I believe I can give you the help you require. She repositioned herself on the chair. I do have one condition. I want you to cancel that speech you were planning for your wife at the Benfey Festival. Mayor Lester is not only popular in Benfey, he's one of the most influential members of the USP's conservative wing. You wouldn't want to upset him. Okay, you're going too far now. Now you're being unreasonable. Come on now. Miss Torrey, please, you're being unreasonable. He's not the only person who would be upset, Mr. President. You know that. If you want conservative support, you cannot let the First Lady speak in Mr. Lest's stead. This isn't about her, it's about women's rights. I thought you'd understand. Now, I say that, but there's no third option. I know damn well Gloria Tory doesn't care about stuff like that. I mean, she's a conservative woman. I mean, she wouldn't turn around and care about women's rights when it comes to certain things like that, because she has a very different view of what women's rights is. So, I guess I could naively say that, but believe me, I understand more than your wife even. Tell me, why does she want to do this speech so badly? She wants to give Swordish women a voice. So do I, but this is not the way. I've spent nearly 2 decades in this assembly. I know how real change happens. The old conservative men who hold the power in this government will not listen to Miss Rayne's speech and suddenly have a change of heart. Rather the opposite. They'll see a shrill, hectoring housewife who slept with the president for a spot on stage and is now hopelessly out of her depth. You sound bitter. I'm sorry your path to the top wasn't as easy as hers. That's unfair. Monica has been campaigning for women's rights since I met her. Sometimes I really hate some of these decisions because they make me sound so naive, because, I mean, I definitely understand what Gloria is saying, but I also feel like Gloria should understand, even though she might purely be doing this because she's from the conservative aspect of this, but I feel like she should understand more than anybody the the power or the symbolic power of the president of Swordland and the first lady, even here in the United States. You know, if you turn around and do anything crazy, whether you be the first lady or the president, there's an impact of it. It could be something as simple as eating a pizza, and it will be seen as a big deal. So, I mean, she should understand better than anyone that while there will be plenty of people that will turn around and come off that way, because this is a much more authoritarian and right-wing country, this also will be a very impactful thing because the first lady, who is seen as a very influential figure among women's rights organizations and stuff like that, is going to have a huge impact. Again, I think this is just purely her being a conservative, so that's the reason why she believes that. But, you know, whatever. That's unfair. Monica's been campaigning for women's rights since I met her. I'm just telling you what others will think. Listen, I do believe the status of women could improve during your administration. Your education minister has been gathering ideas for a bill that appears quite promising, but you've got to have patience. Having Monica speak now will be detrimental for all of us. Just let Mayor Les have his little moment in the spotlight. His time will be over soon enough. Jesus Christ. It's like I just came in here today and oh, my wife is going to be so pissed. She might leave me. Oh, God. Shit. Oh, she's going to be so pissed. Oh, man. She is going to be so pissed. And I know that this is going to turn sideways. I know that this is going to turn sideways. Because if I don't let Monica speak, then she's going to get up and say something anyway, because we've already seen how this turns out. Ah. Boy, boy, boy. But if I don't turn around and do it, I can't get this bill passed. Shit. God. This is tough. This is tough. Gloria, you are a... Oh, God. This is so fucking stupid. This is so stupid. This is the thing. This is the thing. Fine. My wife is going to be so pissed. Thank you. Trust me. It's for the best. Just don't forget, Mr. President. The conservatives will be expecting a lot from you. And I'll be expecting a lot from them, too. I can get you the signatures needed for the proposal. I'll talk to the other conservatives. I hope there won't be any surprises, though, Mr. President. What surprises? We have to calculate every possibility, Mr. President. After all, this is Swordland. Of course, I can't guarantee that all of the conservatives of the party will vote for your constitutional changes. That will depend to some extent on your policies, but the signatures, at least, are as good as gathered. Which policies make you concerned? I'm concerned about the oligarchs and the state of our economy. I'm worried that they may influence you for their own benefit. We expect you to succeed where Alfonso failed in resisting their siren call. If you start privatizing healthcare or state-owned corporations, I doubt I can help. Don't worry, that won't happen. Good. She stood up. I believe I've made myself clear. Thanks for stopping by, Mr. President. Hope you hold your promises. She extends her hand to me for a handshake. Once I shook her hand, she immediately sat back down. Now I need to get back to my duties. If you will excuse me, Mr. President. Goodbye, Miss Torrey. Thank you. She only responded with a nod as I left her office. The conservative side was handled, but to get to the 150 signatures I needed, I would still have to deal with Alvin Clavin and the reformist wing. I went outside. Sergey drove me back to the palace where I met Lucian and told him about the progress I'd made with Gloria. Shit. Okay, let's go ahead and deal with Alvin Clavin. This shouldn't take long. I hope he doesn't have any problems with some of the things that I agree with Gloria. Let's see. After our meeting with Gloria, Toria, and further discussion with the party and my cabinet, it was time to talk to Alvin Clavin to get the reformist wing to support the proposal. I also plan to finally present a more fleshed out proposal and declare our agenda to the party after our meeting. I walked into the left wing of the assembly and entered the quarters of the USP. When I reached the meeting hall, I saw many of our members conversing outside. After taking a glimpse inside, I went back to the corridor to look for the office of Alvin Clavin, which was around the back of the palace. When I reached his room, I knocked on his door and entered. Mr. President, welcome. The whole room was surrounded by bookshelves packed with files and papers. It was a small office, with books and dossiers lying on every corner. It felt claustrophobic. On his gesture, I took a seat. Did a bomb drop in this office? He laughed. You could say that. So much research and preparation needs to be done on the plans we're working on. How's everything going for you, Mr. President? It's pretty tough. I can't imagine the work you're dealing with up there. I wanted to express my gratitude for passing the Workers' Rights Act. It's one of the most comprehensive and successful political efforts. It was the right thing to do because our workers were suffering for decades. Indeed, the people will credit your administration and the party for a positive change in their lives. The businesses will share the burden with the state, but it is change they have to abide by. Albin smiled and knocked on wood. Anyway, sir, let's talk about the proposal. Thanks for coming here for my input because there are some subjects where Gloria and I don't see eye to eye. I have to say that most of the progressives were already starting to warm up to you. Your attempt at changing the Constitution created quite a bit of excitement. One could dare to say any excitement that hasn't been felt since the 30s. I've read the proposal that was finalized together with Miss Torrey, and surprisingly, came out pretty good. Look, Mr. President, I'm on the same side as you. I won't create any problems. Thank you, good God. I was expecting him to just be like, oh, I don't like this, so you're gonna have to go back and talk to Gloria. Alright. Thank you, Mr. Clavin. Any help from you is much appreciated. He looked down at the proposal. It's looking good. I will support the proposal and get the needed signatures from our wing. I believe the reformist votes that I will have will be very important to you. Who knows? Maybe you'll consider me for a job in the government in the future for this. You bet I will. Good to know, Mr. President. I will talk to my guys shortly. I'll have their signatures soon. Thank you, Mr. Clavin. See you in the conference, Mr. President. I left his room and went back into the corridor. The meeting had exhausted me. I went to the restaurant of the assembly to get something to eat while conversing with other members of our party. I saw Albin talking to his people in the distance. After a while, the preparations for the conference began, and I went back to the conference hall and prepared my notes for the speech I was going to make. It took time to get all of the present members of the party inside the hall. Gloria Toria announced me from the stand. I walked to the stand as everybody in the room started clapping. Brothers and sisters of the United Swordland, I came here today to announce the agenda for the future of our country. I started my speech with the reasons of the changes to the Constitution. The people of Swordland have spoken. They blame our institutions and our systems and want change. Can you blame the people? Have we had enough with the flaws of our Constitution? We must listen to their wishes and get their trust in Swordland back. I paused as they started clapping and continued. Talk about why USP needs this to survive the next elections. That seems a little. Yeah, I don't know about that one. But then again, I don't feel like talking about democracy to a bunch of people that basically wanted one person to be in charge for all eternity is also great. Let's target the old guards in the Supreme Court. I blame the old guards for not allowing the legislative to do their work. I explained how more reforms can be done if their power over constitutional changes were to be limited. A round of applause from the left was heard. Later, I explained the contents of the new constitution and asked for their full support for the proposal. Asked for their votes. I asked for each and every member's vote to make a change together. The reformist wing on the left stood up and started clapping loudly after Alvin Clavin made a sign. Soon after, most of the party members stood up and joined in. I saluted everybody in the room one last time and bid them farewell before leaving the stand. I walked outside the assembly and back into the palace. Okay, so I'm going to have the majority of the party on my side. Now the oligarchs are going to be a problem. They're going to turn around and do whatever they can to kind of block me because they don't like the things that are going on. But with the PFJP and my party united, and that should give me enough. There's only the NFP. They're not going to go for anything. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think the communists and the bluish factions have any power in the assembly. But I should be able to get this through. I should have enough votes to turn around and get this through to the assembly. I'm more so concerned about my wife. My wife is going to be so pissed about this. So, but it's hard. It's really hard being in this situation. And, you know, it's tough. It's real tough. Jesus. That is a hard decision to make, especially after you turned around and, you know, you said that your wife could turn around and do it. And also it's hard because I know what's going to happen. So, and I don't know how that's going to affect things because I can't turn around. There's no way I would stand there and let somebody talk down to my wife like that. But, you know, this is tough. This is tough. Anywho, I'm going to stop it right there. So if you like the video, like the video. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. I have plenty of things on my channel, and I will have plenty of things on the way in the future. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section. Again, I get all this stuff to my phone, so if you want to have a discussion about some of my choices, by all means, we can. If you want to let me know about certain things, by all means, you can. I am there, and I am willing to answer. So thank you for watching. See you in the next one.